Okay. So going back now to, so in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, the three jewels, in the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha, we can say the body, the speech, and mind. I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. So until I attain my pure, unadulterated, uncontaminated enlightenment, I will take refuge in these three jewels. That this becomes my guide, this becomes my protector, this becomes the body in which I am living. It becomes my lifestyle. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, by the good things that I do. Remember, we talked about the five poisons and we talked about the five antidotes. So, generosity was the antidote to greediness, but there was education. There was the antidote to there was the antidote to ignorance. There was loving kindness. There was the antidote to hatred. There was compassion meditation that was the antidote to desire, and there was accomplishment, unimpededness, fearlessness that was the antidote to jealousy, envy. So, by the merit of those antidotes being summed up by generosity and these other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. That I am doing this, everything that I am doing in this way is for the benefit of others. If I do it selfishly for myself, I'm missing the point. And what will happen is I will develop arrogance. I will develop this self-aggrandizement. I will develop this selfishness of my own importance. My ego will become stronger, stronger, stronger. But if I do this in order to help other beings, this is the hallmark of being a bodhisattva, of being a wholly enlightened being, that I'm doing this for the benefit of others, not for myself. So this builds in a virtue of generosity for other beings. So that's why this is so important, because we're taking refuge in the three jewels, and we're doing this for the benefit of others. So that's why this prayer is the single most important prayer, because it has refuge built into it, the first two lines, and then the second two lines is Bodhicitta. Any comments or questions?
Lance, I really am enjoying the modifications you've made. I'm further digesting so much more than I thought I understood about these prayers. So thank you so much for the enhancements.
You're welcome. Thank you. And one other thing, when we take these prayers, when we do these prayers, these refuge prayers in particular, we are holding the three jewels in the palm of our hands, like this, at our heart center, to symbolize our commitment, to symbolize those three jewels. So what we can do is we can take our thumbs and put our thumbs inside our palms. So we're not holding our hands tight like this. I know many other traditions you will see this mudra, this hand position like this. But we do this with our thumbs in here, so we're visualizing those three jewels. And as we recite this, we're reciting Om Ah Hung. So, at the conclusion of our sessions, we do Om Ah Hung in the body, speech, and mind. So we're visualizing our taking refuge in the three jewels. So the mind of the Buddha is at the heart center. The speech of the Buddha, the Dharma, that's the teaching of the Buddha, is at our throat center. And the body of the Buddha is at our crown, is at our forehead like this. So that is I know it would make sense to say the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the body, the mind, and the speech, and the body, but It becomes a mindfulness thing that we have to be aware of why we're doing it this way. So that helps us to stabilize the understanding of what this is. So that inner meaning gets strengthened by doing these practices. So when we do refuge practices, we're holding this jewel of enlightenment, or the three jewels at our heart center like this. So you'll see that's why people who have been doing this for a while do that. Having said this, remember, Buddhism is a philosophy. It's not a religion. A religion implies, the definition is our relationship, a human being's relationship with a super being, with a supreme being. In Buddhism, Buddha is not a supreme being. We don't regard him as a supreme being, as a creator in that way. That many traditions, many religions would think of it in that way, as a creator. We don't think of it that way. We think of it simply as a philosophy of purifying the self, of realizing our Buddha nature, this true nature, this awakened nature of all these things, of seeing virtue. We went over a few weeks ago, we talked about the 10 virtues and the 10 non-virtues. So to become a virtuous person. So my point in saying this is that by becoming a Buddhist philosophic practitioner does not negate whatever other spiritual connection you might have as a Christian or as a Hindu or as a Muslim, as a Jew, as a Taoist, as any other group of, as a humanist. It doesn't preclude any of that. It doesn't take any of that away. If anything, it makes you a better Christian. It makes you a better Jew. It makes you a better Hindu, whatever tradition it is, because you are approaching that with a greater sense of awareness and purity of the self. The ego is being controlled, being subdued. We're controlling our little mind. So don't think of it as we are compromising our commitment to whatever tradition we grew up in or which we have chosen for ourselves. Okay. So the last prayer we're going to talk about today, right now, is the four immeasurables. So this is on page 6 of our book. These are the four vast immeasurables, and we've already talked about this. Bodhicitta, the four vast immeasurables, are the four vast immeasurables of, there we go. I don't know how that happened. The four vast immeasurable qualities of bodhicitta, the holy enlightened mind. So we recognize this through these 4 lines. So if you remember, the 4 qualities are loving kindness, compassion, joy, empathetic joy, and equanimity. So this first line says, may all mother sentient beings, we've talked about the mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky. How many sentient beings are there? I mean, there's 8 billion human beings right now on this planet, and countless animals and countless insects. There are so many sentient beings. We can't understand how many there are. Boundless is the sky. May they all, it says, may all other sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. So that's loving kindness. May they have the wisdom, and may they have the causes of wisdom. May they understand what wisdom comes from. May they understand our dualistic nature, that wisdom comes from both success and from failure, comes from our dualism, comes from our understanding that all these things are appearances, all these things are just things that we agree upon conventionally, that we agree that this book has a brown gold color to it, that this paper is a white paper, that this phone has a black face to it. We agree on these names, on these conventions. We agree on these things, but they're arbitrary in essence. So we go into a lot more detail on that, but that is loving kindness. That is wisdom, is understanding the arbitrariness of these appearances and how it is that we conventionally come to agree to call these things what we do call them. So the next line is, may they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. So what this means is we're recognizing that there's suffering in our lives. There's suffering in other people's lives, and that there are causes of that suffering, and we are having compassion for that. Just simple compassion. We have a forgiveness for that. We have a recognition that these beings may not understand it themselves, but we are trying to have a compassion that will show them a loving kindness, that will show them a way of developing wisdom so that they can understand their causes of their suffering, at least from my heart, from their heart, from your heart to their heart, at the very least. If I can articulate that compassion and be able to help them through a teaching, through an understanding by putting my arm around them, giving them a hug, showing them some love, some way to be able to make a connection with them, we can do that. But it basically comes down to compassion. And sometimes all that we can do is make that radiant compassion from our heart to their heart. Maybe they're halfway around the world. Maybe they're beings who are so filled with non-virtue that we don't want to approach them. We don't want to threaten, make them feel that they're being threatened in any way. So all that we can do is just kind of withdraw, but at the same time, send them that loving compassion from my heart to their heart. And we can visualize that as light. When we did the Manjushri practice, which we're going to do in a few minutes, we're sending light to those beings from our heart to their heart. It's not from our brain to them, it's from our heart to their heart. Compassion. And the next line says, may they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. If there is happiness that is free from sorrow, can't that be defined as joy? That is pure joy. No sorrow, no thoughts of sorrow, no experience of sorrow, just pure joy. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. So that's joy. And you recognize that within yourself, and you recognize it within other beings. You recognize that joy in other beings, so that empathetic joy. And then the last line of this prayer is, may they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. So equanimity, the root word is equal, is equi, is an equalness. And an equalness between opposites, between dualism, between all the different disparities of different things that are being reflected upon each other. So this is all subsumed down to being free from attachment and aversion. The essence of that dualism is, I want these things or I don't want these things. So this equanimity is free from that dualistic nature. So we are free from that dualism with others. Whether they love us or they hate us, we're going to love them either way. And we want that for other beings. We want them to have that equanimity, because we find that as we develop and cultivate this and stabilize this within ourselves, this equipoise, this balanced nature, this equipoise, we are poised in this equanimity, becomes such a wonderful, blissful feeling that we have, this awareness that we have, that there is this balance in nature, that there is this balance in all things, and we become harmonious with that. We become part of that vibration that we were talking about before, that is ceaseless. It's never been born, and it never dies. And we become the embodiment of the connection with that. So this is the four immeasurables. So recite with me, please, this twice in English and once in Tibet. May all mothers sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. In Tibet, Manam kadam yampe sem chen tam she dewa dang de wei ger dang dem par jur chi. Dug now dang da now gi gu dang dra war jur chi. Dug now me pe dewa dang mi dra war jur chi. Nay ring chak dang ni dang dra wei tang nam la ne pa jur chi. We'll recite the Tibetan one more time, but as a chant. Manam kadam yam pe sem chen tam she de wa dang de wei gur dang dem par jur chi. Dug now dang da now gi gu dang dra war jur chi. Dug now me pe de wa dang mi dra war jur chi. Nay ring chak dang ni dang dra wei tang nam la ne par jur chi. So either with the melody, if you want melodies, I can send you the melodies as they're recited by the monastics. I can send you mine, but it's not as good as the monastics. To help you, the melodies help to join the words and the phrases together. Chanting it is very powerful too, and you can do that. So whichever you're most comfortable with, and maybe it's a combination of both those things you want to do that with. So are there any questions or comments about the four immeasurables or any of the other prayers?
I would love to hear the recordings you were talking about. I don't know how we would get it, but
Okay, well then what we can do is next week we can use those recordings to lead us, and if you want, I can email you those e-files.
that would be awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right. Well, I want to leave time to talk about the dedication prayers, the closing prayers, but I also want to do the Manjushri practice. The middle teaching we can do next time. You know, I wouldn't. I think it's more important to do the Manjushri practice. So I think everybody can remember that, and or at least remember that we did it. What I should say. That's not that. There we go. Well, this isn't going to work real good. I got to do this in a different way. Otherwise, we can't read all those words. There we go. Okay, you can see that whole the whole page there, or at least from left to right, you can see that whole section there. Okay.
Yes, we can.
All right, good. All right, because I got your pictures in my way. I like to see your pictures. Okay. Okay, so you remember we visualize ourselves as Manjushri. We're sitting in the meditation position with our back straight, and we're sitting on the lotus pedestal, which represents purity. Our legs are crossed, whether we're sitting in a chair or not, or on a cushion, and we have a golden body. Our left hand is holding the stem of a lotus flower, which represents purity, and on that is the book of the Dharma teachings coming into our left ear, coming into our left side. And the wisdom of that comes round our heart and comes out through our left arm, through our through our right arm, through our right hand, through the flaming sword of wisdom that cuts through all ignorance and confusion. So this is where we begin. And then we recite the meditation on all-pervading emptiness. Om Shanyata Jana, Om Shanyata Jana Bhajra, Sobhava Atmako Kam. So this is my body, speech, and mind is the indestructible nature of emptiness wisdom. The visualization. From the all-pervading emptiness, a many-colored lotus appears. On the lotus are moon and sun discs, surrounded by an orange-colored mum syllable, the nature of my own awareness wisdom. The luminous syllable radiates colored light in all directions. It is offered to all the Buddhas and purifies all obscurations in the six realms. The light returns and is absorbed into the syllables, and I become Manjushri, brilliantly golden in color. With one face and two arms, my right hand raises the wisdom sword above my left shoulder, and my left hand, raised to the heart level, holds between the thumb and ring finger the long stem of a lotus that blossoms at my left shoulder. On the lotus is the 100,000 verse Prajnaparamita text. I am wearing a 5-pointed crown adorned with blue-black topknot, and am cloaked with silken robes and precious ornaments. Seated in the Vajra position with smiling countenance, I radiate the glorious signs of all the Buddhas. At the three special places of the body, speech, and mind, the forehead, the throat, and the heart, the white, red, and blue colored syllables. The white Om at the forehead, the red Ah at the throat, and the blue Hung at the heart. Lights radiate from the syllables, inviting the divine wisdom beings who dissolve inseparably into me, with the syllables Za, Hong, Bam, Ho. I connect, I latch onto, I tie myself up, I chain myself to, and I rejoice at being inseparable with the enlightened ones. Again, the three colored lights radiate, invite the Buddhas of the 5 families, and appear in front of me. I offer flowers, incense, light, scented water, nourishing cakes, and music to them. Om Sar Tathagata Abhi Kensha Tu Mam. All the Tathagatas, please grant me the empowerment. Mam. By this request, I am empowered by the Buddhas who pour the vase nectar on the crown of my head, filling my whole body with nectar and purifying all the obscurations. Purifying all the obscurations, the nectar overflows at the crown of my head, becoming Buddha Varanchana. The Buddhas of empowerment then dissolve into me. Then the offerings. Om Manjushri Jana Sattva Bhajra Argam Pratitsa Mega Samuja Saparana Sameya Hong. Om Manjushri Jana Sattva Bhajra Padyam Sara Puja Mega Samuja Saparana Sameya Hong. Om Manjushri Jana Sattva Bhajra Pushpam Sara Puja Mega Samuja Saparana Sameya Hong. Om Manjushri Jana Sattva Bajra Tupam Sarva Puja Mega Samuja Saparana Samaya Hong. I think I forgot this one. Om Manjushri Jana Sattva Bajra Pushpam Sara Puja Mega Samuja Saparana Samaya Hong. Om Manjushri Jana Sattva Bajra Aloke Savara Puja Mega Samuja Saparana Samaya Hong. Om Manjushri Jana Sattva Bajra Gande Sara Puja Mega Samuja Saparana Samaya Hong. Om Manjushri Jana Sattva Bajra Nuidaya Sarva Puja Mega Samuja Saparana Samaya Hong. Om Manjushri Jana Sattva Bajra Shapta Sara Puja Mega Samudra Saparana Samaya Hong. So next is the long praise. So this is the praise of Manjushri, and Manjushri is within ourselves. So we're praising that which is within ourselves, that potential which is within ourselves. His wisdom is brilliant like the sun, free of the clouds of the two veils, and perceives the various types of knowledge in their true nature. For this reason, he holds the wisdom text at his heart. He has compassion for all beings who suffer from the darkness of ignorance in the prison of samsara, as a father for an only son. Like a thunderclap, he awakens those who are sleeping in ignorance and loosens the chain of karma through the 60 branches of harmonious speech. He wields the wisdom sword to cut the seedling of suffering and to dispel the darkness of confusion. In the Bodhisattva form, he is pure from beginningless time, fully accomplished in the 10 levels, and perfect in the body of all knowledge. I supplicate you, Manjushri, adorned by the 112 signs of a Buddha, to dispel the darkness of my ignorance. The short praise. You who are the perfect youthful body, whose flame of wisdom blazes and dispels the darkness of whole worldly ignorance, I prostrate before you and praise you, Manjushri. The mantra recitation. At the heart chakra is a sun disk on which stands the mum syllable, which means harmonious speech, surrounded by the mantra circling clockwise into golden light. The light radiates from the mantra, invoking all the blessings and energies of all the Buddhas, which dissolves into the mum syllable. Again, light radiates and transforms the outer universe into the superb, pure land, and purifies all the obscurations of sentient beings, who are then transformed into Manjushri. All are reciting the mantra together. The light returns to the seed syllable. So now we visualize that Manjushri is within our heart center and that the light is radiating from his heart center, from the mantra, from the mum syllable in the center of the mantra, going out to all beings, and we're visualizing them as Manjushri, the Bodhisattva, the Lord of speech, the Lord of wisdom, the wisdom speech. So the mantra is Om Wagi Shvari Mum. Om Wagishvari Mam, 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 Om Wagishvari Mam. Om Wagishvari Mam, 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 Om Wagishvari Mam. Om Wagishvari Mam, 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 Om Wagishvari Mam. Om Wagishvari Mam, 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 Om Wagishvari Mam. Om Wagishvari Mam, 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 Om Wagishvari Mam. Om Wagishvari Mam, 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 Om Wagishvari Mam. Om Wagishvari Mam, 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 Om Wagishvari. Om Wagishvari Mam, 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 Om Wagishvari Mam. Om Wagishvari Mam, 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 Om Wagishvari Mam. Now we do the dissolution, the meditation. So we recite this. The outer universe dissolves into light, which is absorbed into myself. I then dissolve into the mum syllable, which dissolves from the bottom to the top nada, gradually becoming emptiness. I meditate in the bliss of the non-duality of subject and object. So we visualize that all the light of all the beings all dissolves into myself, all dissolves into the mum syllable at the heart. And then the mum syllable rises up from the bottom to the top and dissolves into the space, into the emptiness, to the peaceful mindfulness. And just rest in that state of meditation. We'll do a short meditation of just 5 minutes. If your mind wanders, just bring it back to the visualization of the golden light coming into the heart center of all the Buddhas, all coming into the heart center, and that syllable rising up. If you just visualize the mum syllable in English is fine, but it's the point that it becomes invisible. Take a deep breath and hold it. Exhale. Squeeze your abdomen, presses against the diaphragm, presses against the lungs, and pushes all that stale negative air out, and hold that breath. Breathe in through both nostrils, all the way down 4 inches below your navel. Hold the breath. Expand the belly. Expand your abdomen. It pulls down the diaphragm, opening up the lungs. Hold that breath. Exhale, squeeze all that air out. That negative, stale, dark air being squeezed out, and hold that vacant breath. Breathe in fresh, clean, pure air. Hold it. Exhale, stale, negative, dark air. Hold that breath. Breathe in. Out. Breathe in. Out. Relax and breathe normal. Visualize the dissolution of the light of the mum syllable. If your mind wanders, just bring it back to the visualization of the golden light. Or you can practice your breathing, watching the breath, just as we just did. Inhale and exhale. Catch a glimpse of the mind as such, peaceful and quiet. Take a deep breath and hold it. Exhale. Stay relaxed. Breathe normal. Open your eyes. Visualize yourself again as Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of wisdom. And then we recite this dedication prayer. By the light of your wisdom, compassionate one, may the darkness of ignorance in my mind be dispelled. To realize all the sutras and commentaries, please grant me the power of radiant wisdom. Whenever I want to see you or want you to clarify my confusion, Lord Manjushri Goka, may I have a clear vision of you without hindrance. You, Manjushri, have performed great deeds to the furthest limits of the 10 directions for the benefit of all sentient beings. May I and others perform the same activities. Om. Okay. Thank you very much. Does anybody have questions or comments?
I just I'm loving all the everything. Like I'm digesting like 2.0 or 3.0. I love it. Thank you, Lance.
Well, good. Thank you. And I'm sorry if I'm going through too fast, but we have a limited time, and I'm hoping that you'll become inspired and want to spend more time. Okay. Well, then next we're going to do the dedication prayers in our prayer book. But I'm going to give a little bit of an explanation of the inner meaning of these prayers so that you may be inspired to do them and to have your personal experience with these, the meaning of these prayers. So I'm going to screen share again. Whoops, there it is. Okay, let's see if we can see this a little bit better. Okay, is this big enough that you guys can see it?
For me, yes. I don't know if someone else needs it because of like reading stuff
Right.
near side or far side.
Let me see if I can improve it a little bit. That should be a little bit better, I hope. Okay. So this is the lineage dedication prayer. So the lineage is the unbroken lineage of teachers and disciples who then become teachers, who then take disciples, who then become teachers, etc., like that. So we are of the lineage of the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, that is 2,600 years old. But that lineage has subdivided many different times into many other lineages. And the particular lineage that we are part of is called the Drikung Kagyu lineage, which is 800 years old. So our founder was Lord Jigden Sumgun, who founded the Drikung Kagyu lineage in Drikung village in Tibet 800 years ago. So we are paying homage in this first stanza to the lineage masters who of the Kagyu lineage. So here is Dorje Chang, who is the primordial Buddha, so pure this Dorje Chang has not manifested in a form. It remains formless and is in the heart center of all the enlightened beings. He is also in the center of our being, although we do not recognize it, although we may catch glimpses of that from time to time. That pure nature, that pure awareness, that pure nakedness that we have within ourselves, that pure virtue. So Dorje Chang is that primordial Buddha. Then Tilopa was a great yogi who lived on a beach. He had been born a royal prince and became a great practitioner who gave that all up to become an ascetic living on a beach, living on fish entrails. And he became a great, great teacher and one of the founders of this Kagyu lineage. The Kagyu lineage means the practice of the yogis. This is the oral tradition. So for many, 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 many years, many centuries, this was not written down. It was an oral lineage that was passed down from one yogi to another. So this began with Tilopa. Then his great student was Naropa. Naropa had been one of the greatest scholar masters of Nalanda University in Tibet. And he, in India. And he was questioned by this woman who came and asked him if he knew the meaning of the Dharma. And he stumbled and staggered to try and answer that simple question. And she said, "Oh, well, you need to find my brother to be able to answer that question." So he gave up all his robes and all his power as being a great scholar. And he started traveling India until he found Tilopa. So that old woman's brother was Tilopa, this great ascetic who then Naropa lived with for many, many, many years to purify his wisdom and his arrogance and his ego. Then Naropa had a great student named Marpa. Marpa was the first of the Tibetan students who came to India 3 times from Tibet to get the teachings from Naropa. And he took the teachings back to Tibet and he wrote them down and transcribed them into what was then the Tibetan language. And so he was the translator who translated what was the Sanskrit Pali language that was coming out of India. He brought to Tibet. So he brought the Kagyu lineage, this teaching of the yogis, to Tibet. His great student was Milarepa. Milarepa was the greatest of all the yogis, and he was considered to be a murderer. He was considered to be a saint, and he was considered to be a Buddha. That his family was disparaged, and he killed many of his villagers. He learned black magic, but then he fell into depression from having done those terrible deeds, and he wanted to redeem himself. So he started to find the pure Buddha teachings, and he discovered Marpa, and Marpa purified Milarepa of his transgressions of becoming a murderer and doing those terrible things, and then he became a saint, symbolizing in Tibet for all beings that even though one can be a terrible being doing terrible deeds, one can purify themselves, can redeem themselves, and become a Buddha in a single lifetime. That's what Milarepa was able to accomplish. So he became a role model, a hero to the Tibetan people because of his attainment of Buddhahood in his one lifetime. His great teacher his great student was Dharma Lord Gampopa. Dharma Lord Gampopa was a physician of the time, and make a long story short, he found Milarepa, and Milarepa, recognizing that he was a very learned, intelligent physician, he charged Milarepa charged Gampopa with the job of writing a book that encompassed all the oral teachings of the time. And that's called the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, which is a book that we teach from. So that's a very important book that is called Lam Rim Text, which means stages of the stages of the path. So it is the instruction manual on how to attain enlightenment. And that's our main book. Everything that we teach comes from that. So Dharma Lord Gampopa had a great disciple, and he was Pagmadrupa. Pagmadrupa was a great monastic who had 500,000 monastics come to his monastery. And those monastics went out into the land into Tibet, and many of them founded their own monasteries and so on. And so he institutionalized the yogic tradition within the monastic tradition. So the monasticism, the scholarly, came together with the yogi practices and stabilized the Kagyu tradition in that way. Then one of his greatest students was Lord Drikungpa Jigden Sumgun, and he is the founder of our lineage, Lord Drikungpa. Lord means that he is the master. Drikungpa means the man of Drikung. So this is Jigden Sumgun, who founded our lineage 800 years ago. And so this is our lineage supplication. So we supplicate these masters to remember them. It says, please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessing of all the Kagyu lamas. The Kagyu is this lineage of the yogis. Then we say this next stanza. It says, by this virtue, may I achieve the all-knowing state, and may all who travel on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara by defeating all enemies, confusion, the cause of suffering. So by this virtue, the all-knowing state, this is what we're trying to do. This is the meditation that we just did, that dissolution meditation through Manjushri takes us to that all-knowing state, takes us to that meditative Mahamudra mind. And through that, with that, may all who travel on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara. So before I told you that all sentient beings, human beings, animals, insects, etc., all these, that the hallmarks of their being a sentient being is birth, old age, sickness, and death. May they cross the ocean of samsara. I talked about that the past couple of weeks, the ocean of samsara, this vast ocean that the ocean of suffering. May they cross that ocean of suffering by defeating all their enemies, or within themselves, which is their confusion, the cause of suffering. Each of us has our own sufferings, our own confusions, our own enemies within ourselves. It's not outside of ourselves, it's within ourselves. So we're dedicating the virtue of this practice, what we have done tonight, we're dedicating this so that these beings may be liberated, may recognize these. So here now is the prayer for Bodhicitta. It says, Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind. Where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. So, Bodhicitta, the holy enlightened mind, the excellent and precious mind. Where it is born, where it is unborn, may it arise. So in those beings where it's not, they don't know about it, they don't understand it, but may it come to them. May beings teach it to them. May we spread it. And then where it is born now, may it not decline, may it not go down, but may it ever increase higher and higher. May it stabilize and increase in its power and its being able to help other beings to attain this mind of meditation, this mind of true nature of the Buddha. Next, we pay homage to the Lama. We say, I pray that the Lama may have good health. I pray that the Lama may have long life. I pray that your Dharma activities spread far and wide. I pray that I may not be separated from you. So the word Lama is a Tibetan word that is the teacher, that means teacher, that is the guru. Guru is the Sanskrit word for teacher. So Lama and Guru, same thing, Sanskrit and Tibetan. So I pray that the Lama may have good health, that he may have a long life. I pray that your Dharma activities spread far and wide, and that I may not be separated from you. So our Lamas, our teachers, are traveling monks. This is their job. Their job is not to stay in one place. Their job is to go around to many different places and bring the Dharma teachings to all these different people and so on. So we rejoice that they do that. Not that selfishly we want them to stay with us and constantly be teaching us. We need to be able to take their teachings. We need to be able to digest them and to assimilate them, to embody them, and then for us to become teachers ourselves. So we never separate from our lamas. Our lamas go all around, but our heart connection has no time limit, is limitless in space. It's wherever we are connected with our teachers. Whatever the time is, we are always connected with our teachers. There's no time, there's no separation of place. So then the next stanza says, as Manjushri the warrior realized the ultimate state, and as did Samantabhadra, I will follow in their path and fully dedicate all the merit for all sentient beings. So as Manjushri the warrior, that's the Bodhisattva of wisdom. He is a warrior of wisdom. He is a warrior to overcome ignorance, a warrior to overcome confusion, to overcome the afflictive emotions. He is like a warrior. He's carrying the wisdom sword, the flaming wisdom sword that cuts through all dualistic nature, all confusion. So as he realized the ultimate nature, the ultimate state, so as we doing his practice, we have the full potential to be able to realize that same state by doing that practice. And as did Samantabhadra. Now, Samantabhadra is one of the 8 great bodhisattvas, who is the bodhisattva of devotion. So the devotion to the teachings, the devotion to the practices. So here is the warrior who is dedicated to cutting through ignorance, and here is the devoted one who is devoted to keep the diligence, to keep the practice, to keep doing this over and over and over again, devoted to the Dharma, devoted to the teachers, devoted to the lineage. I will follow in their path and fully dedicate all the merit for all sentient beings. That I dedicate all this merit for all sentient beings. I'm not keeping it for myself. I'm not taking all this and saying, oh, what a wonderful practitioner I am. I am taking this, whatever merit I have gained by doing this, I am letting it flow right through me, and I'm giving it to all beings. I'm dedicating it for all beings. That everything I do with my body, speech, and mind is for the enlightenment of other beings. And it says, by the blessing of the Buddha who attained the 3 kayas, by the blessing of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessing of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I share bear fruit. So the Buddha who attained the 3 kayas. The 3 kayas are the bodies of the Buddha. The mind body at the heart mind. The speech body at the throat. And the body symbolized at the forehead. By the blessings of the Buddha who attained the 3 kayas, the Dharma, the Nirmanakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Dharmakaya. We're going to talk about this again next week or the week after next. By the blessing of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such. So the Dharma, the unchanging Dharma as such, is the speech of the Buddha. By the blessing of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I share bear fruit. So the Sangha order is the body of the Buddha, the community of beings, the community of people who are taking up the Buddha practices, the teachings, and so on. May the merit I share bear fruit. In other words, may everything that I'm doing come to fruition for the benefit of others. May they become Buddhists. May they become practitioners. May they become yogis and yoginis and bodhisattvas. So then this short prayer, by the virtues collected in the three times, the past, present, and future, the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and the innate word of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. For this dedication, everything, may it all come together, unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment for myself and all beings. And then may the teachings of the great Trikumpa Ratna Shri, who is Lord Jigdan Sumgon, the founder of this lineage, may the teachings of the great Trikumpa Ratna Shri, the noble jewel nature one is what that means, who is omniscient, all-knowing, Lord of the Dharma, master of interdependence, Lord of the Dharma, knowing everything, all this Dharma nature, all this stuff, all the teaching of the Buddha, master of interdependence, recognizing that we're all connected. We're all connected, this interdependence. However, it's empty of its own true nature. And that's an idea that we're going to talk about later. That really is something very, very profound to talk about this interdependence. So may it all continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Samsara on this planet may never ever end. And it would be a mistake for us to think that it will. And it would be a mistake for us to think that we're going to make it happen. The only thing that we can change, the only thing that we can improve is ourselves. We can end samsara for ourselves. We can transcend our human nature to become nirvana, to be in nirvana, the state beyond the suffering of samsara. That's the only thing that we can change. So when we say continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara, we mean that for ourselves. And through that, can we do that for other people? Can we help other beings to do it for themselves? We can't do it for them, but we can show them the method, just as we are learning the method of the Buddha Shakyamuni, who is teaching the Dharma. This was his method for being able to liberate from samsara, liberate from the suffering. So this is the Dekorma prayer. So this is the dedication prayer. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go through this quickly now. I'm just going to read the English. You can chant it, read it along with me. Dorje Chang, Talopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Dharma Lord Gampopa, Pagma Drupa, and Lord Trikumpa, please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessings of all the Kagyu Lamas. By this virtue, may I achieve the all-knowing state, and may all who travel on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara by defeating all enemies, confusion, the cause of suffering. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. I pray that the Lama may have good health. I pray that the Lama may have long life. I pray that your Dharma activities spread far and wide. I pray that I may not be separated from you. As Manjushri, the warrior, realized the ultimate state, and as did Samantabhadra, I will follow in their path and fully dedicate all the merit for all sentient beings. By the blessing of the Buddha who attained the three kayas, by the blessing of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessing of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I share bear fruit. By the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings, by the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate word of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Trikumpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Om, Ah, Hum. Om, Ah, Hum. Om, Ah, Hum. May my body, speech, and mind become inseparable with the body, speech, and mind of all the enlightened ones for the benefit of all sentient beings. Thank you all very much for your kind patience.
Thank you,
Thank
Lance.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you,
all.
Lance, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Lance.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Lance. Great
You're welcome.
explanations and
Thank you.
reminding me of many things.
Yes. It's all there, isn't it? All right. Well, I'll see you again next week. We won't have Medicine Buddha this week because of the
Okay.
retreat. Okay.
Yeah. I was-
Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Good night.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you.
Karina and Gavin, be safe on the highways there, please.
Thank you so much. We will.
Come back safe. Did you find any lapis lazuli in any of the gem shows?
No, it's tomorrow we're going to.
Tomorrow we're gonna go shopping around and to look.
Oh, okay.
What retreat?
You're doing retreat on Thursday?
There's a retreat going on. It started past Friday, so it's 9-day retreat.
Okay.
So it's on Zoom.
Wow.
It's down in Florida, and there's many people down in Florida, but I couldn't go, so I'm doing it on Zoom.
Awesome.
No,
Enjoy.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
nice time.
Yeah, I would like to talk to you all about it, and when the time is right, when you guys are back home, I would like to have a nice conversation with you.
We will want to go into Virginia soon. I hope.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Yes.
I'll meet you down there. That'd be great.
Yes, for some time. For 2
Okay,
weeks.
very good. We'll talk about that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, Lance. Thank you.
All right, be safe.
Thank you.
You as
Bye-bye.
well.
Good night.